movie recommendation for the evening?
I think Robocop is an awesome character. On the face of it, he doesn't sound complicated. Dead cop gets turned into a zombie cyborg that continues to do his cop thing, shoot the bad guys, and drop one-liners like a boss. And yes, that's definitely an entertaining part of Robocop, and pretty much all I was expecting from developer Teon in Robocop Rogue City, released late last year. But the good news is that the developers have treated the character with a lot of respect, and given some time to exploring the internal human versus machine conflict that the original movies dived into as well, in between the ridiculous volumes of bullets and Oscar-winning one-liners.
Down this hardened door if you want to get in.
That will not be a problem.
The game's plot is pretty consistent with what you'd expect from a Robocop story. I'm not going to spoil it, but there's the continued theme of capitalism taken to extremes, and the widening gap of the haves and have-nots. Robo starts off foiling a hostage situation at the local TV station by some gang members who are trying to audition for the new crime boss in town. In the process, he sustains some damage and starts to experience glitches. This has the consequence of recalling painful memories or visions at really inconvenient times, distracting him while trying to rescue a civilian in a standoff.
You work so hard, honey. Why don't you take some leave? We all could use a little break from this reality, don't you think?
It puts her in danger, and it's all caught on tape by a resourceful journalist, which airs on the news and makes Robocop look pretty bad to the public. As a result, the higher-ups decide to install a chip in his head that grades performance going forward. The mission we're next assigned is to discover the identity of the new crime boss in town and bring them to justice. Robocop's game world is split into about 4 different parts or chapters that are separated by events in the major quest. In between doing the major plot missions, you'll be able to do police work that amounts to side quests, and these can be pretty entertaining. With more completed quests comes more XP, which gives you points to put into the skill tree. There's an RPG element to this shooter, in that you can build your Robocop any way you'd like. More health, more damage, more armour, or you can spec into engineer with computer ability, turret reformatting, or focus, allowing you to use bullet time for longer. The minute-to-minute action can get addictive, mainly because of the crazy power trip you feel as Robocop bringing criminals to justice with quick delivery of lead to the head. Between throwables like motorcycles, gas cans, or busting doors and brick walls down, there's a lot of interactables that make you feel like a walking tank. Are you having a bad day, citizen? There's few things that make me smile as much as approaching a perp and turbo punching his face hard enough that his body gets ejected backwards at Mach 2. Even picking bad guys up by the neck and tossing them at each other is just a joy. I really like the scanning green target reticle that identifies threats, just like an AI would. It's such a vibe. Some of the abilities that unlock include a bullet time focus and a kind of short-term damage mitigation. The perk abilities also can affect dialogue options and crime scene investigations that you'll come across. For example, there are safes I encountered early on that I wasn't able to unlock because I didn't have level 2 engineering, or hidden passages I couldn't detect because I lacked the scanning level skills. I spec'd pretty heavily into the armour, which allowed me to slow walk through small arms fire and have it actually ricochet and kill enemies. It also gave me the ability to not bother with defusing bombs and instead literally just cop it on the chest. There's added customization in the form of Robocop's trusty Auto 9 pistol. You can install different chips that you'll come across through the game that'll allow greater damage, armor piercing, quicker reload, or even no reloading. And these can be swapped out on the fly. I ended up having a chip with no reload ability, but less accuracy, that I used on low armored human enemies, and a higher damage armor piercing accurate chip I used for armored or mechanical targets. There's a limited amount of variety with enemy types as the game progresses. Unfortunately, rather than smarter enemies, we get more health spongy enemies, so it takes longer to deal with them, but we're essentially using the same tricks. The enemy AI can be pretty damn stupid, and will occasionally just run into your line of fire without concern for cover. I found the gang members at the beginning more frequently using cover and ducking back when I returned fire compared to the later, more armoured enemies, who would be pretty happy just waltzing up while emptying the clip. I guess there's some sense in that the weaker enemies need the cover to survive and the later bullet sponges don't need it and they just rely on their armour instead. The graphics and presentation definitely can give off a cheaper vibe. This is not a AAA offering and that's pretty apparent. Character models frequently repeat I saw this one guy about 9 different times.
This music is driving me crazy. Sure you don't drink anything, it might have a roofie.
There's pop-in, NPC conversations abruptly cease, and they turn and stare blankly at you like you've dropped a robo-fart. Smokescreen deployed. There's also some pretty funny graphical glitches to come across, like chairs embedded in walls or heads spinning like they're possessed. There were a couple of times where a glitch made it impossible to progress, essentially soft-locking me from completing the objective, and I was forced to reload from the checkpoint. Apart from that, the jank for the most part was more funny than annoying. I was pretty impressed with how wonderfully grimy Detroit was made to look. With the night lighting, there's some pretty jaw-dropping visuals that are pulled off in the first half of the game. The voice of Robocop is supplied by the original movie's actor, Peter Weller, which made for instant nostalgia. I think he does a pretty good job of it too. There's enough modulation between confident action Robocop and quiet or concerned Robocop. I won't lie, with every one-liner that came out, I was grinning like an idiot and chuckling like a fool.
I haven't ordered anything.
I only need your signature.
We are one.
Can I sign this?
Do you think you still remember how to put the heat on them scumbags?
I prefer to serve justice cold.
The rest of the voice cast is pretty good too, particularly Lewis and Washington. I'm not really sure what's going on with this bit though.
Oh God, heaven itself has sent you, Robocop. It was a nightmare. Why can't you give us a fucking break? I'm so lonely.
I didn't really notice the music much apart from the Robocop theme, which appears during the beginning hostage level, and then again at the end of the game during the second last fight. So overall, Robocop Rogue City feels like a first-person shooter that got lost to time and is just now being rediscovered for the old-school fun that can be had. Unfortunately, you can't buy it for $1. It'll cost roughly 74 of those at full price, and if you're hesitant, I would wait for a sale, but frankly, I had a good enough time that I'd be happy with my full price purchase. As I'm writing this review, it's currently on sale on Steam for about $44, and at that price, it's an absolute steal. It's also just recently been garnished with a New Game Plus mode as well, just a little cherry on top. There's plenty of graphical jank to be had, but the crazy cyborg action and the role-playing elements really sold me on this being a worthy successor to the franchise of Robocop.